My name is Tracy. I'm not sure that I have a problem with the haunting, but would just like to share my story. It starts back to when I was a child. My mother and I always had this psychic connection. For instance, I never had to tell my mom what I wanted for lunch. She would just think of a few choices, and I would then walk in seconds later and give her the answer to the question that she never asked. Now, this happened just a few times. I would have washed it off to coincidence, but this happened all the time. Now, as an adult, I get to do this with my children. It's pretty neat. I always have this psychic capability, not asking for it or concentrating on it. It just happens. Well, now with a little background on me, I'll get to the good stuff. When I was about 5 years old, my parents purchased their first house from an older woman whose husband had passed away, and she was moving to Florida. Hence the reason she asked us to keep her cats. From the moment I stepped into the house, I felt watched. This feeling only increased with time, so bad that I used to get dressed under the covers. I remember it happening in my bedroom more than any other room. I didn't feel that way in the bathroom after I took a bath or something. It just seemed to be in my bedroom. Then, the nightmares started. I would wake up extremely distraught, usually having the same few nightmares over and over again. I was terrified of under my bed, so I used to jump from my bed out of my doorway and run to my parents' room on the other end of the house. I would then go to sleep on the floor by their bed. I was never afraid of under their bed, though. I didn't realize how strange that was until I got older. As I would run to their room on many occasions, I would look behind me, and I would swear I would see something chasing me. Now, I guess I left this to an overactive childhood imagination, but I found out more. When I got older, my mother told me that she used to hear voices in the attic, but upon going up there, with a knife in hand, there would never be anyone up there. There was never anyone outside either. She said that she would always feel the presence of an older man. When I was 14, my parents divorced, and I rebelled, and in short, my father got custody of us, and we got the house. My dad is very carpenter handy, so he decided to rebuild the house and increase its size. Not too long after the remodeling of the house, me and my brother were sitting on my dad's bed, with the door shut, and all of a sudden, the door handle started to jiggle, so my brother jumped up and grabbed the handle as it was jiggling, and threw the door open, and nothing. There was no one else in the house, but my brother immediately ran down the hallway to the front door, and looked outside to make sure. It's impossible that someone was there. The only original things left in the house are the original foundation and the chimney. I figured after the remodeling was done, whatever was here left. Until recently, about 2 years ago, me, my fiance, my 2 children and my brother all took the house over. One night, me and my fiance were in bed, sleeping for about 30 minutes or so, and I woke up and saw a dark shadow leaning over his chest. I yelled stop, and then went right back to sleep. The next morning, I didn't even think of it, so my fiance called me from work. He asked me why I yelled stop, and I told him that I didn't know why, that I even forgot about it. Then I told him that I did see a shadow that resembled a short, bald, heavy-set man leaning over his chest. He then told me that he woke up gasping for air, and that the dark shadow was pushing on his chest and pulling him off the bed. Then when I yelled stop, it vanished. My fiancé is not a weak man at all. He's very strong, so I knew something was going on. I felt a presence in the room for a few weeks after that, but I went into each of the rooms before bedtime and told him that he was not allowed in there. Then one night, me and my brother were on the couch talking, and I told him the story, and he was in disbelief, of course. We then both dozed off, and I got woken up to a pale-faced brother who said that he got punched in the chest, and he was having a hard time breathing. I then did the same thing as before, and had nothing happen since. That's the end of my story. Well, this experience takes place almost 30 years ago. It was on a cold February morning. In those days, I would wake up at 4:30 in the morning to get my husband ready for work. I remember making him a fresh pot of coffee, along with his breakfast, and packing him a lunch for the day. He would leave the house for work at 5:30. After he would leave, I would go back to bed, but on this day, I decided to lay on the couch in the living room because I had to be up again to get the kids ready for school. As I was laying on the couch in the living room, I suddenly heard the front door open. It was in the middle of the dark. I jumped to my feet, thinking my husband returned. Maybe he was coming back for something he forgot. As I approached the door, a man, a tall man, walked into the house. I was frightened. I backed away. I froze. Was he going to rob us? I shouted at him to leave, but he just ignored me and walked past me, as if I wasn't there. He was heading towards the kid's bedroom. I immediately ran after him, and just like that, he disappeared. I woke the kids and ran to my neighbor's house. We called the police who came and went throughout the house to make sure he was not hiding. They found no one. I was confused, no doubt, because I did see this strange man walk into this house. He was somewhat odd looking. I described him to the police as a tall man with a mustache. He was not wearing a coat, and I found it odd because it was the dead of winter, and he obviously would be cold. The police were polite and courteous, and told me to reinforce the doors with security locks, and left feeling a little like I was losing my mind. I did not just dismiss it. That night, when my husband came home from work, I told him what happened, and he too was worried, and the next day had deadbolts put in. A few months later, I was preparing a potato salad for a picnic when my elderly neighbor called me to come over her house and change a light bulb for her in her bedroom. I noticed that she had pictures. Some looked real old and spread out on her kitchen table. I sat down and started to look through a few of the pictures. Then I came across the picture of two men, one short and stocky, wearing a bowler hat, the other, a tall light-haired gentleman with a handlebar mustache. I recognized the mustachioed man immediately as the man I saw walk into my house. I asked my neighbor Phyllis who the men in the picture were, and she told me that it was her father and a friend of his. I told her that the man next to her father looked exactly like the man who walked into my house. She gave me a strange look and said, "Honey, he's been dead for over 40 years, but he used to live in your house. He was a barber, and he used one of the back bedrooms as his shop. The same room my kids shared. Could this have been the spirit of the man in the picture? I do not know." For as long as I can remember, I've been able to see and feel the paranormal. I didn't know what it was at first, and was truly terrified by the feelings I would get when someone came near me. I'm at the point where I'm no longer afraid, but I do have my moments when something sneaks up on me. Almost every home I lived in has been haunted, and I'm not sure now if they were the homes themselves, or if I'm being followed. I feel comfort in my newest home, and I'm always sure that there's nothing there, which I'm grateful for, because my son senses them too, and I'm not sure if he can still see them, but he used to be able to. He knows his uncle and grandfather, and they both died before he was born. He knew things about them that no one else told him, and as a baby, he would stare past me and start laughing at air. In time, he was able to communicate what he saw, And the truly significant moment came 2 days before his papa passed away. He went into the room his great-grandfather was resting in and came out and told me that there was a man in the chair and he was there to take Papa home. My son was 2 at the time, and we did not discuss his grandfather's dying to him. We only told him that he wasn't feeling well. I knew for sure then that he was able to see and sense things as well. I've seen my brother-in-law praying beside his parents' bed a few days after he died in a snowmobile accident. He has made a clock in his grandparents' home run when it has no batteries and hasn't worked in many years. Every time someone truly missed him and wanted to know if he was there, they would ask him to make the clock go, and most times it did. I knew in my gut the instant my own father died. No one had to tell me. I had a very uneasy feeling in my stomach the night before he died, and I knew that I needed to go to him, but this feeling stopped me from getting on the plane to go home. The next morning, I knew the instant he died, and I was at my sister's house. The feeling just vanished, and I just knew. I told my sister that I had to go home, and that our dad just died, to which she pretty much told me that I was crazy, but I insisted, and I drove myself home. I don't know how I got home. I don't really remember the drive. I remember getting into my car, and this calm was over me, and I remember pulling into my driveway, and my mother-in-law was standing there waiting for me. I got out and told her that I thought my dad died. She confirmed it, and that is when I lost it. I was 5 months pregnant with my son at the time, and I believe that somehow I was being pushed to stay home, because I'm sure that I would have lost my son if I was with my dad when he died. The stress alone nearly killed me. My dad used to come to visit me. He would turn the lights on and off to let me know that he was there. I could feel him around me. It has been a while since I felt him, but I know he's still around. A duplex I lived in had 2 spirits, a man that was not good, and a woman. The woman would unlock doors in the night and turn lights on. The man did not want us there, and I sensed that especially in the basement. A few people saw and felt both, but the woman kept him in check. The only time they really made themselves known while anyone was awake was the night that my cousin and I were looking on the internet at pictures of ghosts and demons. All of a sudden, there was a loud crash from upstairs. We raced upstairs, but nothing was out of place. I got a really bad feeling and ran upstairs to my son's room and grabbed him. My husband wasn't home, but I called him to come home. My cousin and I sat in my living room freaking out when I saw the man walk by me, and he was in black with a large brim hat. My cousin saw him too, and he had never previously had an encounter. It was as if he was telling us to stay off those websites because they were not good or something. All I could even remember was the absolute terror in my heart. The orchard I grew up on was haunted by more than 3 spirits. Not all of them are good, and they made it known that we were not wanted either. One spirit had befriended our family and would try to protect us from the little girl who wanted us out of there very badly. I believe that she and the little boy were my second cousins killed in a car accident with my great-grandfather, though no one has been able to confirm that. Walking down the stairs to the basement, the same step always seemed to break, and you would trip. It never actually broke, but 7 out of 10 times, you would trip on that damn stair. I mean, anyone would trip too. Faces would appear in windows. Gunshots would ring out behind our house, and no one was there. My dad even checked for footprints a few times, because the shots were that close. The taps in the kitchen exploded once, and there were the booming noises from within the house, for no reason. I saw the spirit of the cat my dad ran over a few times, and then there were the horses and cows that periodically freaked out over something no one else could see. There was also the drifting odor of the orchard of a dead animal, though it was never in one spot, and there were no dead animals. I used to feel like there was something under the stairs to the basement, It was an old house with old wooden stairs, the kind that had no back, and under the stairs was dirt. I always had a bad feeling about that, and would fly down the stairs as fast as I could, and run them up 2 or 3 at a time. My dad had renovated the house, and my brother and I were fortunate to have bedrooms in the basement. I got locked into my room one night, and we ended up having to take the hinges off to get me out. No lock on the door. When we were moving, I was sitting on the floor in my room packing, when all of a sudden, the mirror on my dresser came crashing down, shards of glass missing me by centimeters. My friend's family rented the house for my dad for a short period of time, and one night, my friend had fallen asleep in the area of the basement by the stairs. The hissing cat woke her up, and she looked to see something clawing out of the dirt. She didn't stick around to find out what it was. A few days later, her brother came bolting into the room she was sleeping in, my old bedroom, and grabbed her arm and demanded to know if she was practicing witchcraft or something. She didn't, because he had 2 perfect bite marks on his wrist, and when they looked at her arm, she had the exact same marks as if they had been bitten by fangs or something. Of course, they left shortly after, but not because of the things they experienced. I didn't find out about any of this until after they moved. An older woman bought the orchard, and when my sister went back to visit a year or so ago, she happened to mention strange things that were happening around the orchard, and asked my sister if she knew anything about it. My sister quickly filled her in about the yellow and green orbs seen floating around the house, the strange occurrences, and all the noises. The difference of what she had seen and felt was that she saw a cowboy, and we were told there was an Indian on the orchard protecting our family. Apparently, the land that my great-grandparents had settled on was once a battlefield, and our family had been told the Indian warrior died there in battle. The house we moved into after we moved off the orchard had its own spirit or two as well. My parents didn't believe me until a few years after I moved out, and my mom had been home alone, and the front door unlocked, opened, closed, locked, and she heard footsteps move around the house and up the stairs, and then they stopped. She also heard the kitchen cupboards open and close, and kept calling out to my dad. They lived alone by this time, but no answer. This continued like this for about half an hour. My mom got scared and refused to leave her bedroom until my dad actually came home an hour after that. She blamed him, but it couldn't have been him. He was at work. This was a frequent occurrence, but previously my parents blamed my brother or myself or the other until my brother and I moved out. There was also the time my friend and I thought we would play a trick on my brother and pretend that the house had been broken into. We trashed the house nicely, placing objects around as if they had been thrown or scattered in a rush. We were standing in the kitchen laughing about this whole thing when all of a sudden a hand reached up the window. You would have to be almost 7.5 feet tall to do this. We screamed and ran up the stairs to get the cordless phone. The doorbell started ringing, and knocking on all of the windows started. We called the police, thinking that someone was actually trying to break into the house. The police heard the noises and told us to stay upstairs until they got there. My brother and a bunch of his friends walked in at this point, and we started to accuse them when there was another noise outside, and my brother went out to investigate. I saw him chase someone down the street in a plaid coat, and then the person just vanished. My friend and I were hysterical by this time, and the police had just arrived. They brought canine dogs, and the only scent they picked up was my brother's, and that is because he had chased someone out of the yard. The dogs didn't pick up anything else, and there were no footprints anywhere, except the police and ours. My dad came home, and my brother and his friends swore it wasn't them. When the morning came, we all went out to check under the kitchen window for evidence it was my brother, and there was just no way that anyone could have just reached up that way the hand reached up. There was also the time that I came home, and the upstairs extension picked up while I was on the phone. I thought my friend had someone over, or it was a party line. Small towns used to have this, where two different residences shared the same phone line. She thought I was trying to scare her, because we could both hear breathing. I snuck to the stairs and saw the shadow of a man. I freaked out, grabbed a knife, and ran out the door. I called my sister down the street to come, and there was no way anyone could have gotten out, but no one was there when it was checked out. There was also the glowing eyes in the bushes up the street. I used to see those frequently at night, and once in a while, was brave enough to go and check it out, to see if there was a dog in the bushes, peering out. There never was, and the hairs on my neck would stand straight up on end. I wasn't the only person to see this or feel this way about those bushes. Quite a few houses in the area were haunted as well. I would hear a man's voice in the house where I babysat, and so did the girl I babysat. It was detached and floating in the air. You would feel tugs on your shirt when your neck was turned, and lights in the basement would flick on and off. A friend of mine who was completely skeptical lived in the house previously and had confided in me that she thought something weird was going on in the house. She slept upstairs, and every day she would look in the cubbyhole in the wall, and there was a sleeping bag unrolled and an imprint of a body on it, and every day she would roll it up and put it away, only to find it there in the morning again, or by the time she got home from school. She showed me this one day, which made me uneasy, talking about the babysitting job there when new people moved in. There is so much more, but honestly, I'm getting tired and drained out. If you want to hear more, let me know. If you're listening to the best of nothing but the oldies, then you're listening to Magic 98.1. You know, Ted Williams, that guy, he talked like that. Anyway, guys, I don't know why I did that, but I think I screwed up the quote, but it doesn't even matter. Anyway, guys, it's 2019 right now. Time to wipe the slate clean. It's a new horizon, a new beginning, and I'm just here, and I'm glad that 2009 is finally here. I've got a lot of great stories coming up for you guys for the year, so if you're not subscribed and you've been watching this channel for a while, take the moment to subscribe, or if you've been a subscriber for a while and you're just checking back in to see how I'm doing, well, you're here to see the stories, but you know what I mean, then, just leave a comment, share the video. It really helps a long while, and I don't know what that means, but whatever. It's my own phantom language, and I don't even know. So, guys, really, go ahead and comment, like, share, and subscribe. My cat is right in front of me, distracting me like he always does. He probably wants food or something, but that doesn't even matter. I mean, he needs food, and that does matter, actually, but, his cuteness is just overriding my concentration, and it's so cute. Anyway, guys, I don't know what I'm saying anymore. I hope you guys have a great 2019. And if you want anything, if you have any dreams that you want to accomplish, do them right now. If you have a YouTube channel that you want to start, do it right now. If you want to move to Hollywood and be a celebrity, do it right now. Take a calculated risk, because I don't want to be responsible for telling you to go out and chase your dreams, then you become homeless. But, guys, really, 2019 is about doing it now. Do not hesitate. I know it's 2019, and I said that over and over again, but seriously, guys, a new year, a new beginning. Don't start later. Don't say you're going to start in the future. Start it now, or else you'll never start. And I don't know why I'm becoming inspirational, but guys, I gotta go. Like I said, comment, like, and subscribe. Tell me how you like these stories, and I'll see you later. Have a great 2019, and I'll see you in the next video. I love you guys, and I'll speak with you again soon.